All right, today we're going to talk a little bit more about my favorite topic, the Squatterman plasma apocalypse. Now, I found this on a blog. I don't know who made this, so I'm just going to showcase this, and I'll put a link in the description. But showcase this other person's work on their blog, connecting a lot of this stuff between cymatic patterns, the shapes that sound takes when vibration is applied, the field, the sand, the matter, comparing them to just, all kinds of different religious iconography and symbols for like the Knights of Malta and Freemasons, different stuff like that, right? The Triskelion. But this person also researched Anthony Peratt's work on the Squatterman plasma apocalypse. And if you can imagine, basically what happened is something excited the gas in our sky and caused it to quote unquote ionize into plasma. And that plasma started following magnetic field lines of the Earth and basically going through these toroidal and Birkeland currents, these different processes of plasma physics, and basically created these neon signs, what amounted to neon signs in the sky. Like neon is a gas. And when you have a neon sign, it's confined in that tube, right? And you get a sign, you get an image. So imagine that in the sky, but no glass tube to confine the neon, just magnetic fields that the gas, the ionized gas itself, the plasma, adheres to, confines to, conforms to, and it creates, just through the way that plasma physics is, through different plasmoid developments, Birkeland currents, different things like that, these images form in the sky, and there's research showing that UAPs or UFOs, now called UAPs, a lot of it is just plasma, people seeing plasma in the sky. And this person kind of compared some of these glyphs that look like stairs or caterpillars to these tonoscope glyphs that Hans Jenny was doing when he was doing his work with cymatics. So cymatics, when you vibrate a plate with sand on it, the sand will jump into a pattern, right, at certain frequencies, at certain hertz levels. And the same kind of thing happens when you expose plasma to a magnetic field. Instead of the sound vibrations shaping it, the plasma is shaped by the magnetic field and by the way that the plasma physics causes the shapes to evolve. And a lot of it has this toroidal, hourglass, squatting man, pitchfork. Sometimes it looks like owls like this. It's where you get, E.T. and, plasma is ionized gas, and the Ionian Greek columns, ionized gas, Ionian columns, the tops of those columns are meant to represent this plasma discharge. So is the goddess Inanna in the oldest depictions. And just basically these are pictures showing what the plasma looked like when it conformed to magnetic fields in our sky, and there were giant neon signs in the sky, and people interpreted them in different ways and remembered them in different ways and saw them from different angles. And, almost every single god or goddess that we have from ancient times is reflecting some part of this event, right? Or some of these celestial bodies that were involved in creating or causing this event, right? So you just see on the right of all these images, there's petroglyphs, rock carvings all over the world that match up with religious iconography and or mythological symbols or whatever, esoteric symbols. And then they go and compare them to experiments done with plasma physics. And, sure, you could say it also looks like this or it also looks like that. Well, here's the deal, is that we are in a fractal reality where things on a micro level are mirrored on the macro level, and everything is playing out, according to like pi and phi and the golden ratio and all these things, right? So you see in these plasma formations and experiments and religious iconography, it's all the same thing. It's just they're different tropes on the same event, and that event had different stages, right? So, and again, they might have saw them from a lower altitude or a higher altitude. Some of their views might have been obscured where they could only see partial part of it. And you just these slides are filled with images comparing what plasma does to religious iconography or symbology to petroglyphs, right? And to me, it's undeniable that something excited the air, the gas in our sky, and it ionized or whatever. It turned to plasma, started following magnetic field lines, going through its processes. And the ancients, I think this was a very destructive event, which is why they just scribbled it on rocks. Later it evolved into religious iconography, I believe. But plasma gets super hot and can definitely melt things like metal or even brick or probably other various geopolymers. And if you look at a lot of quote unquote natural formations, they're really just melted brick structures, heat damaged brick structures. And I think that this event is caused by something in the sky, something in the heavens above, but also some of this could come from below as well, because a lot of these formations seem to be heat damaged from the ground up. So, could the plasma mega lightning have struck the ground and like a pan on the stove, the heat transfers to the structure and it melts from the bottom up, even though the heat came from above, Or did some of this actual heat and plasma come from below? The bottom could get melted either way because of the way heat transfers, right? You don't have to heat the handle of a frying pan for it to get hot when the pan itself is on the stove. You can still burn your hand by touching the handle that's not directly because the heat transfers, right? But anyway, I'm just kind of talking about how all this makes sense to me while I leave the images kind of speak for themselves that this person did, right? And again, I'm going to post their link to the blog in the info section of this post, this video. But again, you just see everywhere, all over the place, these just absolutely nonsensical, unless you know about this stuff, unless you know about plasma and magnetic fields, these images on these rocks look nonsensical, like they were on drugs or something, right? But once you do the research into Anthony Peratt's work on plasma physics, and this stuff is undeniable. It's just there's no way that it didn't happen. The only question is kind of like when and what caused it. Some people think that the elite parasitic controllers have control of this tech and can do the resets themselves. I think it's a natural cycle, a cyclical thing where, on this level realm that we're on, in the very center of what some people would call the North Pole, but it's actually the magnetic center, I think that the planetary bodies, whatever they are, used to be much closer, much lower. Not orbiting around the sun, but everything in orbit above the Earth, doing big circles around us on different levels, right? And I think they were much lower at one point. And there was this alignment of, according to the Saturn myth, which makes sense by David Talbot, alignment of Saturn, Venus, and Mars. And at the North Pole, right, the center, and it was kind of stationary, but it went through these different instability processes, and the planetary bodies, whatever they are, I'm not saying we can land on them and they're what NASA tells us they are, but they exist, they're up there, we can see them, but the theory is that they exchange electromagnetism discharges, like plasma discharges between each other and between themselves and Earth. So if we know that Lucifer means light bearer in Latin, and in Latin that's what they called Venus, and in the Bible it says Lucifer fell, right? So did Venus fall or descend from this alignment? That's what Velikovsky thinks, his book Worlds in Collusion. And so Venus or Lucifer fell and caused all this electromagnetic destruction by getting too close to Earth, because all this stuff used to be closer in the past. And when you see some of the symbology that they use and compare it to some of David Talbot's ideas of what might have caused those alignments that generated those symbols, it just makes sense. It's like a room, it's like a rug that ties the room together, right? Big Lebowski. And This is the main one, the Squatterman right here with the two dots on either side, kind of like the two witnesses flanking Jesus on the cross, right? And it also kind of looks like a nostril, like a nose, right? And in the Bible, it talks about Yahweh breathing fire out of his mouth and smoke out of his nostrils. So is Yahweh a dragon or is Yahweh a plasma phenomenon? And then that's all for the blog I wanted to show you, but I wanted to add a few pictures here. I was comparing this, I think it's called meandering Greco art, these square spirals. To me, they reminded me of a petroglyph, and they're all over. But then it also kind of reminded me of Pac-Man, or like a plasma screen or an LED screen glitching out. So do we have a LED or a plasma sky or firmament, right? I don't know. And then here, how much truth is in this video game, right? He's running around on a ruined brick world, smashing into bricks for treasures, and then going to the underground to fight a reptilian lizard person. And, while he's on the surface, now and then the sun just decides to try and kill him, right? We're all freaking Super Mario. And, reptiles, lizards that live underground and like pizza and are friends with reporters, news people. Right? It's crazy how they throw this stuff in our face. But I just wanted to throw these in there because I don't want to make a whole vid about that subject, like Mario and the turtles or whatever. Maybe I will, but I just wanted to throw it in here so it had a home because I thought it deserved more than just a Facebook post. But I found this video recently of somebody kind of elaborating on Velikovsky's work. And he suggests that the exodus from Egypt and the plagues were all part of this Venus comet catastrophe, right? And they talk about fine dust particles falling in Egypt, and then the dust changes to larger particles. And there's a comet, blazing sticky substance falls and runs along the ground, and meteors and liquid fire with lightning and thunderous roar, followed by days of darkness. Nile runs red, all fish die, and water is undrinkable. Nile swarms with frogs, gnats, and flies. Cattle die. Boils on man and beast. Thunder and lightning and liquid fire that runs on the ground. Liquid fire, what is that? Plasma? Earth exits the comet's tail. It also could be lava from multiple volcanoes erupting that could be triggered by this whole thing. Strong east wind brings locusts and to devour all remaining vegetation. Darkness for 3 to 9 days. Earthquakes. So the crossing, right? What do they call Nibiru, the planet of the crossing, the Passover, the Exodus? I don't know. Maybe it's all related. After the passing over of the Lord, Moses gathered his people and guided by a pillar of cloud by day. Same thing that the Hopi talk about, being guided by strange clouds during the day and flying shields and stars at night. And the angel of the Lord and the pillar of the cloud moved from before the host of Israel to behind them. Great ball of the comet approaches again, wind, and lots of people drowning. Battle in the sky. Velikovsky says that incessant electrical discharges occurred between the tail of the comet. Venus was depicted as a comet or a fiery star in Aztec, right? And then the comet tail initially looked like an encircling serpent, but later it distorts with legs and many heads, kind of like the seven-headed serpent that I always talk about, that plasma man. Revelation 1:12. Turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me, and 7 golden lampstands, right? The menorah. And so here's something else I wanted to include. Like I talked about earlier, these Ionian columns, these Ionian Greek columns, they're called Ionian columns. And it's where a lot of these old gods come from, these figurines you see in the top left. It's what ET is based off of. And ionized gas, plasma, Ionian Greek columns. Coincidence? I don't think so, But let's see. I have about another minute here, so I think I might have one slide. This was actually sent to me from a Facebook friend who lives in Algiers, North Africa. And you can see that even the Muslims have their own version of the Greek columns, the Ionian columns, right? These spirals that are referring to or depicting, the magnetic fields and the plasma, following those lines, creating like neon signs in the sky. And last but not least, here is the flag of the Berber flag. It's also called the Amazigh flag, and they're in northern Africa. And isn't it funny that so many different countries have the Squatterman on their flag? That's the Squatterman, right? And it's right there on their flag. It's crazy how this stuff is in our face. If you turn it sideways, it's like the magnetic field, and it looks like an owl face. You know, it's all this stuff is coded in the very fabric of reality. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you thought in the comments, and have a great day.